What's up, comrades? Nightwolf here, and hey, guess what? Let's do a video that I've been thinking of doing for quite some time. For those of you guys who are uninitiated or unaware, I am a big fan, huge fan, of the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. I love it. I love the war drama. I love the action. I like the robots. I like the characters. But some of you might be uninitiated in this wonderful anime series. So, I decided that the best way to give you guys something, give you basically my recommended watch list. Now, this doesn't include all the Gundam series that's been around for a very long time, and we'll get into that. But I wanted to give you a list. So, it's not in any particular order, but this list is going to be in two parts. First part will be everything that is part of the main canon universe of Gundam. And that would be the Universal Century. Then we'll move on to the alternate centuries, or alternate timelines, whatever you want to call them. Now, there might be terminologies and things in this video, and I think that I might actually do a terminology video for Gundam, kind of explaining some of the more finer points of the series at a later date. But for this, we'll try and keep it short, simple, and to the point. So without further ado, let's just go into the shows that I think you should watch in the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. Let's get started. Now, for starters, there is only one option I can think of, and I'm going to give a clear and concise explanation as to why this series is the first on the list and why you should probably watch this first. And that series is the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Now, there's a few reasons why I want to touch on this and to give you an explanation as to why you should watch this series first. Mainly, the focal point and reason is that a lot of the terminologies, ideologies, and things that are in this show are pretty much in almost every single other iteration of Gundam. Everything from new types, to colonies, to Gundams themselves, to the masked antagonist. All these things are in the first Gundam, and it is the granddaddy of the Gundam universe. So, one of the best ways to learn and understand the Gundam canon as a whole, the best way to do that is to explore the original series. Now, there are two formats and ways to do this. The first option is watch the original series, all 43 episodes. Now, some people might say that's a bit much, Wolf. That's too much. I can't watch that much anime. Also, I would say, get your priorities straight and watch more anime. Because let's be honest, the comic book industry isn't exactly faring too well. Anyway, if 43 episodes is too much to handle, then I'm going to recommend you the movie trilogy of the Gundam universe. One, they're going to be relatively cheap and affordable, and also they're a lot shorter. They're more condensed, and some people are actually considerably better than the series that it represents. Me personally, I would say watch the original series, but the movies are a good way to go about it if you don't have the kind of time to go through the entire Universal Century story of the original Gundam. So yeah, original Gundam, watch it. In either format, doesn't matter. Watch it. It's a good time. I recommend it. One thing. It is old. So some of you younger kids who were really into that fancy, shiny, new paint job type Gundam stuff, yeah, you're gonna maybe not like it as much. But I still recommend it. Go watch it. And now let's get into the next one on my little list here that I have next to me. That one is Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. Now you may say that's an odd title. What's that show about? Well, it still takes place in the UC timeline, but takes place pretty much nearing the very end of the original conflict of the Gundam universe. Or the first conflict of the 1 Year War, which is, well, its time period stamp is UC 0079. This one, 0080, basically the series is the last roughly few days or about a week or so until the war actually officially ends. This series is incredibly short. It is 6 episodes long. It's a 6-episode OVA, but oh my goodness, is it worth the watch. If you want to have a good cry, basically, if you want to feel emotionally connected to something, I recommend this one. Because, just for a short synopsis, it shows warfare from a child's perspective. Now you may say like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. Is that any good? It is. I'm not going to spoil the reasons why it's good. But it involves a young boy who who thinks war is fun and is a game until real warfare ends up in his colony. And then, things change. So I highly recommend 0080. It's short, it's sweet, and heck, it could probably even still be watched even without watching any other form of Gundam. I think it's still on par with something that's just worth watching in general. Now let's get into another OVA. Actually, a lot of these are going to be OVAs, but the next one on my list is probably one of my personal favorites. Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team. This show was my jam during the age of Toonami. I love this show so much. It basically takes the premise of Gundam and really grounds everything from the technology that's used to the combat itself, really showing weight and reality to warfare in general, especially in a science fiction universe. And also, it's also a really great Romeo and Juliet style story as well. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything more than that, just to say that I think that those 2 explanations are good enough for a short little recommendation. Now, after those 3 recommendations, what could I possibly recommend that's just as good? Well, there's another short OVA series called 0083 Stardust Memory, taking place 3 years after the original, or actually in a sense 4 years after the original Gundam series ended, in timeline anyway. The animation quality is actually much better. This one actually is kind of a prequel to the next show we're going to be talking about. Now, my memory on it is a bit foggy, but this was actually really good. And it actually had a Gundam pilot who's not super uber powerful and really good with Gundams. I'm not going to go into the technical aspects of that because, well, that would take a long time to explain. But it has a really good character, and I really enjoyed the dynamics of him and his rival, the Zeon pilot, who steals another Gundam, which is actually the first time in the Gundam universe that I know of, or that I've ever seen, where a villain actually manages to steal a Gundam and use it for their own nefarious purposes. It's damn good fun. And like I said, 0083 is a prequel to the next one, and that next series is Zeta Gundam. This series is a 50-episode series. Now, some people would say, does this have a movie trilogy? It does. Ignore it. Because it has the worst ending. And makes another series that I have yet to watch completely irrelevant. Watch the series itself. Don't watch the movies, watch the series. I know it's 50 episodes, but it's worth it. This has probably some of the most dark and depressing themes in a Gundam show I've ever seen. Because Tomino was, I guess, really angsty at this point and really wanted to make something sad and depressing. There is a death toll on this show. Be warned, if there are characters that you like, there's a strong chance you aren't going to see them again. They're going to die. But I'm not going to say who, and I'm not going to say how or why. But it's worth the watch. Go out, check it out. That's pretty much it. Next on our little recommendation list is, of course, Char's Counterattack. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Char was the original antagonist for a very long time in the first series, and also had a mentoring role in Zeta. This series is the culmination of the two lead protagonists of the first Gundam and their final conflict. The final battle between Char and Amuro, and it is a movie film. That's it. It's just one movie. I think it had an OVA series, but it's a film that you can watch. It's fantastic. Beautiful mech designs and a fantastic conclusion to a great rivalry. That's pretty much all I gotta say. There's nothing else I can really technically add to that. Just watch Char's Counterattack after watching a lot of the other shows I just recommended. Next up on this list is the Unicorn Gundam OVA series. Now, I'm specifically picking the OVA series because the long-winded, overly bloated other series is completely passable. You don't need a over 25 episode series to watch Gundam Unicorn. The OVA series is completely fine, and this is a more modern Gundam show, so the animation quality is much higher level. So if you're a stickler for animation and you want the cleanest and crispest and the best and shiniest, Unicorn Gundam's got you covered in that department. Well, I mean, it's maybe not quite up to snuff to the current standard, but it is still pretty enough to get your attention. Although the one thing I do have issue with is that it is basically a search for a Deus Ex Machina that's supposed to help solve the problems of the conflict between the Earth Federation and Zeon. That part is a little stupid, but still at the same time, I think it's a good show, and I've watched the first 4 episodes, I think. I haven't watched all of it, but I have seen all of it in the other format, or at least most of it. And it's a good show. I still think it's worth the effort to watch, especially just for the mobile suit designs itself, which a lot of them I really enjoy. Just for that. Just watch it for that. That's more than enough reason. Dumb fun. Watch it for dumb fun. It's got some good characters too, so. Now, we're gonna have another movie on this list, and that movie is Mobile Suit Gundam F91. This was originally planned to be a full-blown series, but ended up being condensed into film. A lot of people don't like this film, but for me, I like it. I think it's a good story. It's relatively cliche, but there's something about it that I find endearing and charming. Maybe it's because it's one of my first Gundam movies that I ever bought. I don't really know. But I like it because it's showing... It steps away from the main focal conflicts of this series. The, Federation versus Zeon and their constant battle. They move past it and we're in a different... It's still in the UC timeline, but it's further in... And both of those particular forms of government no longer exist. Now it's space pirates and people who live in colonies in a smaller Earth Federation. I think it's a good movie and a relatively decent watch. Now that we've gotten through all of the UC timeline stuff that I had on my list, let's go in to the alternate timelines. These are alternate timeline stories that do not take place in the main canon universe, but take place in alternate universes with different rules, different stakes, but a lot of the same basic structure that a Gundam series follows. At least some of them. We'll get into that as we go down the list. But first up on my list for alternate recommendations is Gundam 00. I recently just finished Season 2. It took me a long time to get to it because it was hard to find a streaming service to watch it, but I recently just finished that. And Gundam 00 to me is probably one of the better alternate universe timeline shows. And the reason why I think this is it actually takes place on pretty much on our Earth. It is pretty much our world in the future, with autonomous regions fighting to take control of basically what amounts to solar controlled generators to give better energy to the planet. And it's all about fighting war. Most Gundam shows are about fighting war, but this one is about actually stopping conflict, because that's what the Gundams in this series are designed and meant to do. Stopping conflict and stopping war through armed intervention. But I think the series has a lot of really interesting and fun characters. If you're a lady who likes pretty boys, you're going to probably have a lot of fun with this too, because there's a lot of pretty boys. But that aside, I think that the designs of the suits are great, and this has probably one of my favorite Char clones of all time in Graham Acre, because in Season 1, I loved him so much. He was so fun to watch him be, well, let's just be honest, unhealthfully obsessed with Gundams and fighting them. And also there's a final conflict that is literally mind-blowingly awesome. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's an awesome final conflict battle between the lead Gundam pilot and Graham Acre. So, there's that. That's for Season 1. Season 2 is also pretty good, and it has a pretty good ending as well. And now, let's go into basically what Gundam 00's predecessor was. And that would be Gundam Wing. Now, Gundam Wing has not aged very well in comparison to a lot of the other Gundam shows that are on this list. It has not aged well. It has a lot of repeating animation, really not very good characters. You know how I said in Gundam 00 the boys were pretty? Well, this show has the same thing, only the characterization of the characters are even worse. In my personal opinion, Gundam 00 is better, thus why I put Gundam Wing below this, but I still think Gundam Wing is worthwhile. This was the show, this is on here strictly for nostalgia, because this was the first Gundam show that I ever watched. That's the only reason why it's here, as well as the movie Mobile Suit Gundam Endless Waltz. They're here for the sole purpose of that. I still love them to a degree. It's not my favorite anymore, but when I was growing up, it was my jam, and I recommend watching it. Now, another blast from the past, and I kind of slurred my words there. I apologize. But another one that's basically here for nostalgia and for the fact that just something different. Something that isn't the prototypical Gundam show where, you're fighting to, stop some sort of war conflict of some sort. Oh no, let's go into G Gundam. Because a lot of people praise the heck out of the show because it is just fun. And I'll be completely honest, that is exactly the reason why you should watch it. For fun. It has enjoyable characters, and there's even some good points in here that are actually really great. There are good characterizations at times and some really strong emotional points, especially nearing the end. My main reason for recommending this is because it's just crazy, over the top, giant robots punching buildings type fun. That's exactly what this is. It's crazy, super robot, just plain fun. If you're looking for something where you could probably turn your brain off a bit and just have some fun, this is one of those shows where you can have a lot of fun with it. And with that being said, there's also another series that's similar to it, but it's more of it. Well, actually, no, it's pretty much the same. It's a sports competition, but with plastic Gundam model kits. That's right. Gundam Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. I recommend this show. It's lighthearted, it's fun, it's brought me back into the hobby of buying Gundam model kits, which is its purpose, and congratulations Bandai, please just take my money now. But the first season particularly I think was really great. It had some of the best rivalries and mech battles I have ever seen in a Gundam show. And that's pretty high praise from some of the really cool Gundam fights that I really do love and think are equally as cool. But this one has some great battles. Just the battle between the Camphor Amazing and the GM Sniper K9 is worth the price of admission, in my opinion. That was one of my favorite battles in that show, and probably one of my favorite battles in Gundam in general. But like I said, this is just a fun, kid-friendly show. This is great if you have younger kids and you don't want them to see anything that's too serious or bleak or depressing. This show's great for them. They'll have a blast, I promise. And last but certainly, well actually this is kind of on the least side because I haven't gotten to Season 2 of it yet, but Iron-Blooded Orphans Season 1. I still think this show is pretty good. It's not amazing, but I did like it. I liked a lot of the mech design because I thought it was very... a lot of the combat and whatnot felt heavy, like it had weight to it, like it had purpose to the movements of the mobile suits. The mobile suits are very unique in this show. They're not the same prototypical mobile suits that we always get in Gundam. They're very unique in their own way. And I think the underlying themes of the show about child soldiers is a relatively interesting topic. Gundam touches on child soldiers all the time, but this one kind of took it to new levels of, dear Lord, what the heck is wrong with this universe? It's one thing to be recruited at a young age to pilot a Gundam and start flying around like a crazy person. Another thing entirely when all these children are basically trained to be bloodthirsty killers. There's some good stuff here. There's some good moments. It's not the best by any stretch, but I think it's a show that's worth your endeavor. Anyway, that's my recommendation list for Gundam-related shows. I could go on for a very long time about this because I love Gundam so much, but I'm going to stop here before it gets to an over half-hour long video just about Gundam. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Now, you're probably wondering, where can I watch some of these shows? Well, you're in luck. I'm going to give you... There will be basically lists down below for places in which you can stream these legally. And that's pretty much all I can give you. There are some of these shows that are not released currently in DVD form, or that are not able to be legally streamed. But there are plenty of places that you can go, and they will be down in the description if you're interested in watching these shows. So please, after this very long video, do not forget to leave a like, shoot a comment, subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell, share this video if you want to, and as always, do not forget to raise your nerd flags high, and I'll see you next time. Nightwolf's out.